we're going to turn to our last speaker today, which is Ash Orr, Ash Lazarus Orr, who's here with us today. If you've heard anything about the Orr v. Trump case, as well as passports for trans and non-binary people, this person has helped play a key role in sort of fighting back and pushing back on that issue in a way that is unique and challenging. When you put yourself at the center of a case, it means it comes with a lot of things, but it also is such an important role to play. And Ash is connected to Shruti from ACLU, who we all saw earlier this morning to start our day with. So a perfect bookend here to sort of wrap up our day with Ash. So Ash is going to speak, and then we'll have just a few more words, and we'll let y'all go. But Ash, take it away.
Yeah, hey everyone. My name is Ash Lazarus Orr. My pronouns are he and they. And yes, I am a plaintiff in the Orr v. Trump lawsuit. And I am also a trans organizer and activist from Appalachia. I just relocated from West Virginia here to Maryland. It was very difficult to leave my home state, but unfortunately, West Virginia is just becoming a bit too hostile for myself and other trans people, so my family and I made the decision to come to Maryland. And I'll be honest, as hard as it was to leave West Virginia, I am finding the folks here in Maryland to be so kind and accepting and welcoming. And it's starting to feel like I am finding my people and being able to let my nervous system rest for a bit. So yeah, I really appreciate you all being here and giving me a chance to speak to you all. And I kind of just want to talk to you all, I guess, about just the intersectionalities of being from Appalachia and being a trans person. There's a lot of misconceptions about my home, and I feel like it's my responsibility to help dispel those negative narratives. So there's the stereotype versus lived experiences. There are just so many common misconceptions about Appalachia just being this monolithic or inherently hostile to queer and trans people. And I know I just mentioned that I moved from West Virginia to a safer state, and that's not because of the people. That's something I'm trying to tell folks. It's not because of the people, it is because of the politics. Unfortunately, the politics back home have made it to where if you are a marginalized person, it's simply not safe to exist in that area. We are watching the West Virginia legislative bodies go after trans people, after access to healthcare, after abortion care. They are making it to where it's just not sustainable to live there if you are not a white cis person. And a lot of folks were like, "Oh, so you're finally leaving West Virginia? Like, doesn't that make you happy?" And no, it doesn't. Again, while I'm thrilled about the folks that I'm finding here in Maryland, and having the privilege to move to this area, it doesn't make it any easier to leave West Virginia. Like I tell folks, this decision again did not come easy. The mountains back home, they truly made me as to who I am today. The hollers that I ran around in, they healed me. They helped shape who I am. And the waters back home, they knew my name. I was constantly in nature, in the water, and around my community. And something that I love so much about being a trans West Virginian is the state really taught me how to listen. And what I mean by that is just listening to myself, listening to my community, figuring out, while we are in such a hostile environment, how can we fight back? How can we build, push back against these oppressive systems? So I'm really thankful for my time, being born and raised in that beautiful state, because again, it has taught me just so much about myself and about how to navigate a very difficult situation. And I do apologize. I know it's I'm on my phone here. We have a severe thunderstorm warning and all of my alerts are going off. So I'm trying to silence my phone
No problem. No
so you
problem at
all do
all.
not hear that.
You're good.
Okay. So yeah, the one thing I really like to thank my home state for is really truly helping me endure and find a way back to myself. And I organized in Appalachia, for over a decade. I have marched there, I have built, I've listened, I've grown, and I fought alongside some of the most incredible, down to earth, lovely people that I've ever known in my life. And I really there learned the true meaning of community. And I'm very proud of what I built with my community. Together we challenged injustice, we cared for each other, and we planted seeds that are continuing to grow even without me being there anymore. And that's what's so important to talk about this hostility is that the love that I have for that state, that love alone just wasn't enough to keep me there. You know, as a trans man, my safety and the safety of my family, especially now being in this lawsuit, was increasingly at risk. So that reality, you know, was definitely heartbreaking. But I have to recognize too, like the deep privilege of being able to leave that area, because so many in our community, they just can't up and leave. You know, they are having to endure this. And to those who are staying and continuing to fight, I see them and I love them and I'm so thankful for them. And what I want folks to understand is, you know, West Virginia, again, is not broken. I know it sounds like we may be, but her people aren't broken either. You know, we have been exploited by systems that never cared about us. They never cared if we made it out alive. Yet Appalachians, especially West Virginians, are still there. They're still fighting. They're still growing. And it's just been such a bit, it's like it's been such a loss to have to transfer from West Virginia to a new state here in Maryland. Um, but I truly am just so proud to be a trans Appalachian. And I know folks don't like to, you know, they like to just look down on those of us who are from the Appalachia region, but they can, you know, there's just so much that's not understood about us. They don't understand the generational poverty and trauma. They don't understand how our government for decades has sold us out, have fought against us. Like you look back at the Battle of Blair Mountain, the government killed our own people for capitalism, for its continued exploitation of our people. And I am so proud to come from a line of people that have continued in their own ways to fight back against oppression, to fight back against our government, and continue just this long legacy of not letting the system get us down. So that's what I try to do, like in a lot of the work that I'm doing here, and as I'm talking to you all right now, is, you know, just again dispel those narratives around our people. And I see a comment here from Vita, you know, from Tennessee. I have worked with so many incredible folks from Tennessee. Whenever we dealt with the severe flooding from the hurricane last year, we had folks come up from Kentucky into Tennessee and to Southern West Virginia to help us clean out. We also went down to Tennessee and Kentucky to help folks out in that area. And like I have never been able to find, I've traveled throughout the world. I'm very lucky to have been able to do that, to continue to do that. But no matter where I go, I have never been able to find the love and solidarity and community that Appalachia has. Like that is something that I truly do not think exists anywhere outside of our region. And that's why, even though I am in a different state now, the work that I do continues to be for Appalachia. And I still find ways to make sure that that work intersects with folks back home. Because I truly do think, you know, some of the strongest grassroots movements and some of the best organizers in this country come from Appalachia. And we are just so often overlooked, again, because of these political narratives and because folks like to come in and play hero when in reality we don't need saving. We just need people to listen to us, listen to our lived experiences, and let us lead the way instead of coming in and trying to fix us. Appalachians do not need fixed. We are a stubborn people. Do not try to fix us. If anything, come in, let us tell you how to help us and fund us. That is really what we need to help our folks get out of the trenches and out of the poverty that unfortunately our government keeps putting us into. And I know I just talked a whole lot there about my home, but again, if you can't tell, I'm very proud to be West Virginian and Appalachian, and I'm really happy to see that there's some other Appalachians in this chat because I've been very homesick. Um, Maryland has mountains, and I've been biking them, but they are not the same. They are not the same as my mountains back home, and it's just, you know, I really do hope that folks leave this conversation with maybe just a different perspective on red states, on rural areas, and on Appalachia in general, because some of the strongest, most intelligent, most organized people you were ever going to meet are coming out of these red, small rural areas because they know how to fight, they know how to stay alive, and they know how to fight back against their oppressors. Yeah, sorry, I know I just talked a bunch, but I really appreciate you all giving me the space to do so.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. I mean, I resonate. I'm in Wyoming. I just moved back this last year to my home state. I'd been in Oregon for 10 years, but in the coming back, really wanted to do more sort of smaller rural community organizing and
Mhm,
something about its sort of scrappiness and creativity that's not the same in Portland, Oregon, right? And so like what
mhm.
it takes in a conservative red state to do that and to find your people, but how deep that connection also feels in this way of like we have to protect ourselves, so we're going to, and
Yeah.
this is how we're going to do it, and seeing that solidarity between youth and families and leaders. So Much appreciation for your love of your home as well. I totally get that. And also just thanks for what you're doing in this process, both legally, but also in the organizing that you do. I think anytime that any of us can sort of represent for younger people and even for elders to see like there's a lot of fight within a lot of us and we're not giving up anytime soon.